maybe I should just go inside, right?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. Normally, when we play the intro, it automatically mutes our mics. And it was funny because Gladiator Guru's mic did not mute. So you heard all this background noise, but it was fine. She didn't say anything horrible, but wouldn't that have been something? So she's been having a little connectivity issues. That's why we got started late. She was trying to find a good spot to where she had Wi-Fi that was strong. Plus, she finally got set to an area that was remotely okay. And then it started to rain. So she'll be on in a moment. So good morning. I saw that Gail with the Empowering Process podcast jumped on right away. Kathy, good morning. So Gail's on YouTube and on Facebook. So Kathy, good morning on Facebook. Chenille, good morning on Facebook. And Leanne, my beautiful sister, good morning on Facebook. So Gladiator Guru is getting all set up. The connection that she has today is not the greatest. So we'll do our best to get her situated. You could hear her, and she could hear us, but the video keeps freezing and slowing and freezing. So she's trying to resituate herself. And I think she's probably moved inside because it started raining, but it doesn't mean it's quieter on the inside too. So we'll just see what we get with her. She did inform me that they're very tired this morning, or it's afternoon over there. They're very tired. They've already walked 17 miles today. And then they had to scramble and wash their clothes so they can air it out. And I think the rest of the day they're doing nothing, from what she said. There we go. There we go. Did it start to rain? Is that what was happening?
Yeah, it started to.
Okay. All right. So your connection, even though you're inside, keeps freezing, but that's okay. Can you hear us though pretty well?
Yes. I can hear you.
Okay. Yep. So good morning, everyone. I am the badass Buddha, Lori Monaco. Welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. My beautiful co-host.
Hola, mi gente, aquí con la Margarita and the Camino. Very exhausting, but pa'lante. Your gladiator guru. What does Chenille say? If you're not viva-ing, you're not living.
Yes, that's going to be our motto. So today's Tuesday. You said you walked 17 miles just today.
Yeah, we're going to the last 7 miles. We walked because we figured, okay, it's flat. But then I thought we were in the right town because they had the same name, that one was a hotel. And the last 7-8 miles, we had to take a cab. We couldn't do no more. We got here dead. So it was a good day overall. We did good. We met wonderful. I want to give a shout out to Guillermo y Reyes from Bar Arrabal in Pueblo Población de Campos, because they were amazing. They called us a cab. They saw how exhausted we were. He gave us a show. Guillermo y Reyes, gracias. They're watching, so they'll come on in a bit. But yes.
You've got to love the people that really just go above and beyond. And, the thing is, they don't have to, because they see people nonstop all year, and but they still do. And I think that shows that beautiful side of humanity, which we really all love and appreciate. So I'm trying to catch up on everybody. So what did you walk this weekend?
We walked collective right from today. Iris is walking slow, so we were doing 6 miles a day for the past 3 days, but her leg felt better, so I don't know how it's going to be tomorrow. But where we're at, it's like a hippie place. I stood here 7 years ago.
Shit. That's great.
I loved it. And, Iris being a hippie, I said, we got to go there. They have hamacas, the hammocks out front. There's turkeys and chicken walking around, the donkeys walking around, dogs. They have teepee, and we're staying outside, and they call it a cabana. It looks like a boat stuck in the ground halfway up. We'll take pictures of that. It's back there. And the owner, the Reiki master, so Iris is going to let him do the Reiki on her leg because to see what's, get some energy. And they're going to have a communal dinner tonight. We've already experienced, and she loved it. So we're going to have one here. Yeah, this place.
How many people are staying there total?
Probably like 15 in here, but we're staying out there. Me and Joe, the one door. But it's really cute. It's really cute. Hola, Milagros. Hello to everybody.
Good morning, Milagros.
And Mother, we walked down a steep decline from into the building. Normally, you got to go up. Someone was coming down. She cried. I didn't see her. I walked ahead, and there was nothing. I had WhatsApped the lady. I even called her, and they never put us on the books. And then I said, it's Mother's Day. Let's treat ourselves. They had like a little hotel room with your private bath and everything. I said, let's just treat ourselves to that. It was a dinky village. They sold no cigarettes. We had to walk all the way back up to the main cafe, and then they ran out of food. So we didn't even have like dinner that night. So it's an experience. And then the church had a pilgrim dance, and I videotaped it. Iris participated, and it was like an Irish one. Like you step forward and you appreciate the land, and then you acknowledge everyone around you, and then you acknowledge your ancestors, and then you love yourself. It was amazing. And then they do the Irish poem, may the wind be at your back, the rain fill your crops, whatever the Irish poem is, but it was beautiful. So we had days, we met some really good people. We had dinner last night with this married couple from Chicago with Frank and Derek, and they were amazing. And we almost didn't make curfew, so we're running in the rain up to the top of the hill, and then we see like some of our crew from the place in a bar, and I'm like, okay, we don't, because this was a lot of steps to go up, and I had a Bacardi and Coke, and we all know I can't handle a drink, and we took showers that late, and we had to quietly go into the room, and then Iris said she was arguing with an Italian guy who was claiming her neat ice pack, and she's arguing with him, and she said be a man. So yeah, I mean, it's all part of the Camino, the good, the bad, the sore, the pain, and I just wish everybody, if anybody could take 1 week and do this in their lifetime, it's just amazing. You got to take it all.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's and yet definitely that's good that she's going to get the Reiki done. Definitely ice, elevate, because you guys did a lot of walking today, and you don't want that to like deter you tomorrow, All right. So some of the connectivity issues, it's much better now, but you'll cut out when my mic is on. So whenever you talk, I'm going to make sure that I put my mic on mute. So because it's goes nice and steady when my mic is on mute. So today's conversation, everybody, is we're still in what are we? It's May, right? The push month. So today's month is about pushing ourselves, going forward, moving. And today's weeding out. So this is the conversation for today. It's weeding out. It's identifying the things that got in our way. Not all weeds are bad, okay? Because sometimes we think weeds, we don't want to pull them all out. But we also have to understand that not all weeds are bad. And it's about paying attention and preventing invasive species. So obviously it's a metaphor. It's basically saying that you're going to be taking care of your garden, you're going to be tilling your garden, but understand that there's certain things that that society will deem as bad, but aren't necessarily bad as long as you keep track of them. Weeds are invasive. They're amazing life forms because they will just self-perpetuate. They will reseed themselves. They will grow. They will take over. a garden, but if you keep them in check, they could actually be quite beneficial. So it's about identifying things that are good for you, the things that are not necessarily good for you, but might be beneficial to keep around as long as you keep them under control. And then getting rid of the things that are downright bad and invasive.
Yes. One thing, Chanel, thank you. Well received, Chanel and our cousin Stoji. Thank you for the gift. Yes, we will have wine tonight.
And then you could see that Gail says, like, weeds feed the bees. Yes, if the weeds have flowers, absolutely. But again, it's about, you could pay attention to these things in your life. You're never going to get rid of anything that's bad in your life. It's just never going to happen. It's just not possible. And if you focus on that, like if all you're doing is constantly weeding the bad out, you're going to lose focus on what you're actually doing. So it's a matter of you focusing and staying steadfast on what it is that you want to do, but paying attention to what's around you. Oh, that weed's there. Well, that one's okay. That one's not bad. But oh my gosh, that one is actually blocking the light that I need. That's interfering with my energy. That either needs to go or I need to relocate. The beauty is that we can relocate. Plants can't. Plants are stuck there. But if we, like, it's just like trees will keep growing, but if you have too many trees, it will kill out anything that's underneath, unless it creates a beautiful canopy, like you see in the rainforests where they have layers. They've all worked together to understand the different layers that they have and their purpose. But like where I am right now, where our spring is, we have a lot of trees, and there's a lot of things that are trying to grow, but they can't because the other trees are blocking too much of the light. So we have to go in there and decide, can this tree stay? Can we just trim this tree? And then are these worthy of growing? Because maybe these are junk anyway, and maybe they're not going to help anything that's living around here.
I think we sometimes, many of us are not as focused as we believe to be. And we need the bad. Sometimes we need a bad to remind us what's good. So, and one thing about the trees and the growing, nature has always found a way. You said so yourself when you said life. What is it? I love it. Life will find a way. And I think when we believe that they're in our way, what we got to remember is that we entered their domain. So when you're weeding, absolutely weed out only what is not necessary, because we're gonna need the thorns and the rose bushes. We need to sometimes come back to reality. A lot of us want pain-free, disruptive-free life, and that doesn't happen. Yesterday we were in a village that had a house of silence, and the rules upon entering was you cannot take photos, you cannot take videos, and you cannot speak. So we went in, and Iris and I went our separate ways, and they had a lot of pictures and sayings. And unfortunately, I couldn't actually take any pictures, but there was a quote that says, I asked God for riches, and he gave me poverty so that I can be wise. And I asked God for the good things in life so that I may live, and he gave me a life so that I can enjoy the good things in life. And sometimes we got to remind ourselves that we always are asking or expecting and wanting things that are easy for us. And when we weed everything out, what do we have left? So when you're weeding, make sure that you are sitting in your silence and you're observing your surroundings and you're connecting with your inner self. So like that'll make it easier for you to see what you need and what you do not need. Because most of the time, we need that rose bush. We need to forget it's there, and we need to prick ourselves so much. But then we don't need the poison ivy and none of that other stuff that's surrounding us. So when it comes to weeding, don't ask anybody, what should I do? Sit with yourself so that you can speak, so your soul and your spirit can speak, and you could know exactly what needs to be evicted out of your life. that weed bush or those weeds right in front of your house that every time you walk through it, they're scratching? Or how about those little balls that stick to you? You need to figure out what it is you need to weed out of your life. See, the badass Buddha and I, we can sit here all day and tell you, we can even sit with each other and tell each other what we need. But at the end of the day, what is it that you need to weed out? Because what I must weed out is might be something you need to keep in your life. So when it comes to those important activities in our life of weeding, make sure you're fully present, because then that's when it happens. I also want to share something yesterday, the day before yesterday, badass. And for those who know my niece, Stephanie, it's emotional. Jackson got killed by a car, and my poor niece is suffering. That was her baby. So weed out what you need so that your life can always be happy. And Jackson has been there for all of us through everything, through Eric's death, through Mommy's death, through Stephanie's childbirth. So, people think dogs are just dogs, but badass. They're very important. So keep those you love close to you. But the weeding, I agree. But sometimes, where are you? Do you got to weed where you're at? Do you need to be there? Are you supposed to be there? Or it's just comfortable for you to be there? Sometimes your ass is the one that needs to be weeded out of a situation. So, and you can only come to that realization when you sit with self. That house of silence, you walk through it, it filled you with emotion. You had to tell yourself, I don't want to think about that right now. And so it was a lot that goes through you. Silence speaks volumes, yet we are so afraid of it to sit with it with our own. So we'll sit down and we don't clear it. We don't weed out the thoughts. We fill in the spaces, whether it's talking unnecessary to somebody or overthinking. So, weeding out, it's so detrimental. It's something that we need to do. Oh, you are the weed. So yeah. Hi, Sister Jenny. So in Francia. So yeah, you have to be aware. Be wise. It's enough with knowing. When we grow, we take different steps in becoming and growing and entering our personal legend. But we keep dragging the past with us. So what happens? There's no room. There's no time for you to weed out what you need. Sit with yourself. Shut up and close. It's like in the 5 steps, pillars of peace that I wrote. Unfuck your thoughts. And how do you do that? Just silence. And tell me, badass, how hard is it to silence your thoughts?
If you're not used to it, it's very challenging. It's a combination of silencing your mouth and then silencing your thoughts. And then when you feel the need to distract yourself, to put something on, binge watch something, listen to something, it's because you cannot deal with your thoughts. So the best practice for it is to start first thing in the morning before you get out of bed, is set your alarm about 15 minutes earlier, and then just sit there or just lay there in bed and just lay there. Don't put any music on. Don't put any type of, to watch anything. Don't put the TV on. Just sit there. And if you have white noise going like a fan, that's a good idea, is to just have that going and just sit there and then pay attention to what you're thinking. Don't judge. It's just say, if you're thinking about something that's bothering you, or you're frustrated about something, you say, okay, I'm going to let that go. I'm going to let that go. What else can I think about that's more productive? That's going to move me forward. What's my dream? What's my vision? What is it that I really want in my heart? You ask those questions to get yourself thinking about other stuff. And then once you start to do that on a regular basis, then on quiet moments, and sometimes it's not quiet, like you could be in your car, which is a very easy, mundane type of thing to do because you've done it for so long. and you have music playing, but you space out, or you could be cleaning and you space out, or listening to music and you space out. But those are good times for you when you pay attention to your spacing out. What is it that you're thinking about? What is it that you're focusing on? Are you focused on something that happened like a week ago that you just can't let go? Then you have to stop yourself and say, I can't focus on that. I have to stop focusing on that. And I have to focus on, I have to shift it. I have to shift and flow. That one's for Gail. And again, it goes to say with weeding your garden, you can't just go into a garden and just start ripping stuff up. And I remember, I'm going to throw my sister out on this one. I remember when we were taking care of my mother's big garden in the back, and it gets a lot of weeds and they get very overgrown. And I said to my sister, go ahead and pull out the weeds because it's choking all the flowers. Well, she just started just pulling everything out. She pulled out a whole section of flowers. I was so mad at her. But it's about clarity and understanding and paying attention. You know, you don't just go into the garden and go, I'm just going to rip everything out because it's all weeds. You know, I would pull out a weed and see this little tiny plant growing in between. And I had to make sure that I didn't step on it, that I didn't pull it out. And I would pull these giant weeds out around it so that it could be seen. And then I worked from there. But it's the same thing with your life. You have to pay attention because you can't get rid of everything. You cannot weed out every bad thing that's around you. What you have to do is use discernment, as we always say, and look at the levels. Okay, if I just get rid of this clump right here of people and situations, what would that look like? You know, how freeing would that be for me? How much clarity could I have? Like, how much openness could I have? And it's like, we have to sit with it, and we have to observe it. Even make a list if you need to. What are the weeds in my life? Or as Madeline was saying, maybe I'm the weed. You know, maybe I'm the weed. Maybe I'm the problem in this dynamic, and maybe I need to remove myself so that I'm not the weed. Because we have to take control of who we are. Obviously, we have to take control of, you know, if we're miserable, we have to ask ourselves why. Why are we allowing ourselves to be miserable? And if we say, well, it's because of this person or it's this situation or that, we have to take ownership of the fact that we are in control of our misery. If those other people and situations are making us miserable, we are the ones that have to take ourselves and remove ourselves. Especially if they're not going anywhere. You know, if you cannot remove them, then you must remove yourself. And so you will become the weed if you don't, because then you actually affect other people around you, and you're becoming the invasive species, and you have to own that piece of it. And then you relocate somewhere else. Well, what if I can't? I'm financially strapped. I can't move. You have to stop saying I can't. You just have to find solutions. And it may not be right away, but it can come.
Well, absolutely. What I have encountered is people will listen and read, and then they'll say, well, I'm trying. And I tell them, trying means you know, oh, I tried it, it didn't work out, or they believe they're doing it. I think you really got to roll up your sleeves and you got to walk that path, and it's going to be uncomfortable. And because you're going to be weeding out people you've probably known all your life, you know, co-worker families. Weeding out is just as painful as it was when Leanne, who says she can weed everything out, pulled out those flowers, because it's painful. But if you don't do it for you, then what are you saying about your value? And it's what I tell people. It's not about fear of change or being afraid to really venture out because you don't know who you are. You know what? You do such a disservice. You do so much harm. You cause yourself so many unhealed wounds by not weeding out what is no longer of service to you. So when we go through life and we keep wondering why we're in the same hamster wheel, why are you wondering? Look in the mirror. Ask yourself, why do I stay where I'm unvalued? Why do I stay somewhere where there's no push to be better, where there's no, oh, you can't do that? And who are you? I guess the main question with weeding out your garden is, are you don't have to have a green thumb, but are you working at it? And every day you're learning a better way, a more firmer way, a more attractive way, whatever way you want to go, but it's the way that you are making for yourself. Because the question always is, are you worthy of joy, of infinite joy? Are you worthy to live a life that when problems occur, the situations are always going to jump out quicker than if you're not connected to yourself? Why keep going down the path of pain, of trauma, of disillusionment when the solution is always there, but we're too busy looking at the problem? That's your weeds. That's the garden you've left unattended. And we've talked about this in the beginning of the show. You must be the gardener of your own roots. I believe in Yahweh. I pray on everything I do. But I also know that I have to play my part. And my part is of me being a human down here. So don't try, make the effort. Look at it. Stand apart from whatever it is you're dealing with. Move back. Look at the whole picture that is your life. And where are the thorns that are unnecessarily placed? That's where you start weeding. Even if it's just at the base, start weeding, because the more confidence, the more you pull, the more confidence you start gaining. You have one life to live. You're responsible for yourself. No one needs to make you feel worthy. That is something that comes from within. You want to live a life of integrity. You want to live a life of meaning. If you cannot leave your children and grandchildren or this inheritance, at least plant the seeds of wisdom now, so that when you leave, that garden starts to flourish for them and they don't have to continue the weeding process. So when you stand up for yourself and you roll up your sleeves and you put those gloves on and you go out there and you start weeding things of your life, you are the greatest teacher to those coming up after you.
That's
And
right.
your ability is to be true to yourself. So that's how you teach your children and your grandchildren to be true to themselves, because they're watching you. They're not listening to what you're saying. They're watching your actions. So what better pillar can you be to those you love than the strongest pillar for yourself? So weeding out your garden is getting yourself connected with yourself.
And this is something that when you weed something out, you can't just weed it out one time and then say, okay, I weeded it. Look at how good it looks. You have to tend to that. We have a lot of poison ivy in this yard, and we had a lot of it around the barn, and we got a lot of it under control. But of course, poison ivy is one of the most powerful weeds out there, and it really loves to grow, and it grows quickly. And I noticed as I'm like doing other things, I'm looking at going, damn, it's like really growing up the barn. It's growing up like there's a whole slew of it growing again. And in my head, I'm like, God, and I cut it all. Like I cut it all back, but it finds a way. It always says, nope, no, I'm going to keep going. And the thing is with poison ivy is that you keep cutting it, and then at some point it will actually stop growing in that area, because you just get to the root of it, and it's too much effort for it, so it won't grow. But it's one of those things where you can't let things go too long, because what seems small in that moment in time, in 2 weeks could be much bigger and more problematic. And what we do is we do get overwhelmed. I'll give you that. We have a lot going on. And so we'll make excuses. Some excuses are legit. I'm not a fan of excuses, but the reality is that sometimes excuses are, they are legit, and stuff you didn't plan for, and it got in the way. But if we stay very steadfast, we can maneuver out of very easily and get that done, and then get right back on course. So it's about taking ownership of that and saying, okay, I have to know that this is my responsibility. Because one thing that we do not have a lot of time, is time. And as we get older, the time goes by faster. And then all of a sudden we blinked and it's 10 years. You know, when you're 10 years old, you can't fathom 10 years because you just did 10 years. When you're 20, you can't fathom 10 years because you're not looking at it from that perspective. You're going, oh my God, remember, I can't believe just a minute ago I was 10. You never say that when you're 20. But when you're 50, you're like, oh my God, a minute ago I was 40. What the hell happened in these last 10 years, you know? And what the goal is to say, did I grow? Did I expand? Did I do things? Did I participate in my life? Do I have any regrets? And regrets are stupid, but they're real. You know, like I don't really have a lot of regrets. I mean, like actually, I don't have much at all. But it's been said that the thing that we tend to regret is what we did not do. So if you do something and you fail, don't regret it. Just learn from it. So I wish I hadn't done that. I can't believe it. Like my mom is very fixated on having made a bad decision on getting a porch built. And the guy did a terrible job, had to be knocked down, had to get somebody else to do it. She sued him. She won. She's probably never going to see the money. But it's more like she'll bring it up every so often. Then she'll start crying. Oh, I can't believe it's done. What did you learn from it? That's all we can do. We cannot go back and harp on it. It is what it is. And so we do that when we want to play victim. We do that when we want to have a pity party for ourselves. Sometimes you do have to feel that. Gail was talking about when she's in the pain, she just allows the pain to be there until it runs through. Sometimes we do need to pity ourselves. Why didn't I make a better choice? How far along could I have been already? Let it happen and then move on. Like, let it be short-lived. I could say that for so much of my life. I mean, the last 5 to 7 years, shoulda, coulda, woulda, I should have been out of where I was. I should have, quote, I'm shitting on myself. I should have left my environment 5 to 7 years ago. And I should have made other choices to get other people out sooner, but I didn't. Why? You know, I mean, I've learned a lot from it, but I can't go back. I'm happy where I am now. You know, it wasn't meant to be sooner because I would have never been able to get here sooner. Or maybe I would have, I don't know, because I didn't make the choices that would have led me in that direction. But now I'm clear about where I am.
Well, sometimes we don't know. That's why we can't foretell the future, because maybe had you done so, you would have taken a different route. But where you're at now is where you're supposed to be with the experience from back then. And you said about excuses, you know, excuses are, we say excuses when we want to get out of something. But when we have a legitimate one, it's the reasons for why not. Well, I don't want excuses. Well, no, I'm going to give you a reason why it didn't happen like that, or why it couldn't have taken place like that. I mean, it's also words. Words are so powerful in how you speak to yourself. And that's what I've been doing on this Camino. And regrets, yeah, we all have regrets. And Doji, I get it. I would have loved the dorm experience. When people are like, what's your biggest regret in life? You know, mine's just not going to my prom for some reason. I mean, I would have loved to have gone to my prom and got ready and whatever. And I didn't get to do that. But regrets are also reminders to get off your ass and move. So regrets do serve a purpose if you are in tune with who you are. We're going to have regrets, and you're going to say, you know what? I didn't get to go to my prom, but then let me do this. And do something for yourself. As long as you have breath in you, there's nothing you cannot correct. There's nothing you cannot still do. You know, there's nothing that is going to keep you from living your journey but yourself. And how is that happen? When you are barricaded in by all these weeds that are unnecessarily attached to your life. And as the badass Buddha said, it can be people, it can be places, it can be things. You know how big I am with that. You have to learn how to walk away, make a change, let them know. Boundaries. And if it doesn't work by this time in my life, I don't have time to waste time. I'm going to move on. And you're right. Madeline said people don't want to hear the truth. Absolutely. You know, people I was talking to somebody from, I don't know, the other day, and he's like, the big T or the little T, people can handle the truth, and it's just people. And I said, no, that's babying people. You can't tell me that, you know, what the truth is. What is it based on? A fact. You asked me, do I look fat in these pair of pants? And I said, well, you kind of do. Maybe if you take the shirt out, and then they're going to get all upset about it. So I said, and it depends on certain things. Like, don't ask a question unless you want the honest opinion of something. And a lot of people handle it that way. So I think the regrets, we all have them. Absolutely right, badass. We all have them. But do we still have breath in us to maybe not do the exact same thing, but do something that we also have been putting off? Because the dorm for you, Toji, can signify a lot of things. Maybe it's a weekend getaway, just you, because living in a dorm is just you and meeting people for the first time. So I think along with the weeds in our garden, it is regrets, because that time has gone. It's never going to come back. But what can you still do going forward? And so when you weed all your BS out, now you got to set a whole agenda. Well, what can I do now, right now, in my now? And once I accomplish that, then I can move to a higher step in my tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that. And I'm only saying that because that's what we're living right now in the Camino. Like, how far can I go tomorrow? And then you say, okay, we walked an extra 3 kilometers today because we thought the town was, oh, it's just another 3 kilometers. And when we get there, he's telling us it's like 7 or 8 more. I'm like, we ain't doing that. But it was a decision. Why? Because my boundaries are firm. I'm not going to rack my body. I'm not going to be exhausted. And I have to be somewhere with enough time, because I smelled like a whole barrel of onions.
Smelled like his donkeys.
Yeah. So I had to come. I had to take a shower. I took advantage and washed some clothes. I hung them up, and I had to get the Wi-Fi so that at 2 o'clock I can be here. So sometimes you got to make different arrangements. Sometimes you got to pay the price of a cab. You know,
but it's clarity. See, it's clarity. You know, there's some people that would have been like, oh, we have 7 more miles to go. Let's just do it. Let's just do it, because I'm not buying. See, this is not what it was meant to be. We're supposed to be walking, and then you overdo it. And then the next day you got to take the day off because you overdid it. And that's the difference. It's understanding self. You cannot get the light. You cannot get the nutrients that you need in that garden if you are completely surrounded and by overgrowth of weeds. People telling you this is how you should do it. The people telling you this is what you really want. You know, and a lot of regrets, like what Tony was saying, a lot of regrets come from, we listen to somebody else. You know, but some could still blame it. Like with my mom, she didn't want to listen to anybody else. She made the choice. She made a bad choice, and she keeps going on and on about it. It's like, look, it is what it is. It's not like we sit there and tell you every day, well, that was your fault. We told you not to do that. We don't. It's like, I think I said it once, not in exactly that way, but I had made the suggestion that I made is exactly when she fixed the problem. She went with the suggestion that I made. So it's not about harping on it. It's about accepting the fact that, yeah, we make bad choices sometimes. We make bad decisions. Get over it. It's done. Tony, if you want to go to college and go in a dorm, go ahead and apply. It'd be very interesting. Could you imagine being over a certain age and applying to college and then saying that you want to live in the dorm? You know, I think that would be a hoot. You would make headlines if you did that. Honest to goodness. But we listen to what other people think we should do when we're younger, or we're afraid. You know, sometimes we do need guidance. We do need a little push, like my sister mentioned before, nudge. We do need insights and people just sort of, hey, this is a really, these are your options. When we stay in our environment, we're limited by the options only known to that environment, because we go by what our parents did, what our friends did, what the environment does. Well, you can't go any further. You're not college material. Who says you're not college material? My goodness, it's who says that you can't start your own business because your parents didn't start their own business and they have no concept of how to do that. If you're feeling it, in your gut, I want to do this, I want to try this, do not talk to the people, no vision. Gladiator Guru says that all the time. Go to people who've done this. Hey, I want to buy a whole bunch of cheap apartments and become a landlord. Then go to somebody who does that. Hey, how does it work? What do you do? How do you do this? That's what you do. You want to start your business? Go to people that are entrepreneurs. Don't go to people that have never understood and listen to them say, oh, but then you won't have any steady paycheck coming in. You won't have any benefits coming in like you would if you worked for a company. Yeah, because that's worked out for so many people over the years.
Well, yeah, like me, when I said I wanted to sell my house, people are like, oh, you shouldn't sell your house. Your mortgage is so low. It's almost paid off. What are you going to do? Everything's expensive. And I said, what I want to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. You know, and they're like, but what's, you know, what? And I said, sometimes I would share and sometimes I wouldn't. My husband died in the bedroom. Then my mother died in the bedroom. And then it became my bedroom. And I'm so spiritual. I felt spirits. I felt I heard the whispers. I felt the indent on the bed. And I said it was, and I walked around my house and I spoke to it and I prayed on it. And then I woke up one day after my Portuguese Camino and I said, I'm going to sell it. And nobody understood how I could do that because everybody thinks a rich quick thing is rent it out, Airbnb it, do that. It was a whole process. I needed to sever it from my life. So I do not share my goals with people with no vision. And when people are like, oh, you're doing that, and I'm doing it. Why? Because I feel like it. See, I don't owe anybody explanations. I don't need nobody to understand what I do. Am I perfect? I'm so far from it. You know, I'm still working on my temper. I lost my temper a couple times here, and then I have to talk to myself. And, you know, but I always bring me back to me. And is it difficult? Yeah, I do. Is my bladder not cooperating with me? Absolutely. When there's long stretches in the meseta where there's no trees, so you can't even squat because there's so many pilgrims on the road and there's like there's no bush. So, yeah. But when you choose to do something, you can't go backwards. So when you start weeding, continue forward. That's the only way. This morning, we were having coffee before we left the albergue, and there was a French guy sitting there, and he's talking to us. And then I said, where are you going? He said, forward. And I thought that was the best answer I've heard on this Camino, because everybody will say, oh, I'm going to Castro Jerez, I'm going to Fromista, I'm going to the next village. He said, adelante. And I was like, all my hair stood up, and I said, that was the most perfect answer anybody can give when they ask, where are you going? And you could just be going to the grocery store, but you're like, forward. Because you're going forward. Yeah, you're going to go to the store, you're going to buy what you're going to come home, you're going to alimentar your body, you're going to feed your body, you're going to get stronger. So it's words, the world. If you believe in God, then the world was created with words. Let there be light, and let there be water, and let there be land, and let there be fowl, and let there be animals. It was with words. So the ones who curse us, who brand us with bad luck, is our own thoughts. People are evil. Yes. Those weeds should have been cut off. People are envious, yes, but they're not doing you harm. They're doing themselves harm, because all that energy they're putting into their garden is wilting their weed. So no matter how much they weed, it's going to always grow back, because that's what they deserve. So you choose, where do you want to be in life? How beautiful you want to create your garden, which is your soul. And when you can create a beautiful garden within your soul, you're going to know exactly when the weeding starts. And you're going to exactly know where to go to pull it from the root. But you have to have this cultivation of self-trust within yourself, that you're going to say, I am worthy of such a beautiful botanical garden. And there's going to be prickly little fuckers in there. But sometimes they need to stay to help the others grow. But then there's those that need to be weeded. So the time that you have, we don't know when. But within that time, create a path for you with beauty. Create a path that's worth sitting out there with a cup of coffee and admiring what you have created in your life against all odds. Because we all come from different backgrounds. We've all had traumatic experiences, betrayals, everything. So when you can sit in the garden that you have cultivated by pulling out what no longer needs to be there, then you are one with yourself. What better prize at the end of your day of weeding can you gain but to know who you are and where you are?
And keep something in mind too, that when you are clear on what it is that you want, you do it, you forge ahead. Don't listen to the chatter as people make comments, that might throw you off and stop you. I'll give you a funny example. My Mother's Day gift, what I asked my children to do was help me work in the yard. We have a big garden we need to plant. We had lots of grass that's been overgrown in the middle pasture. The grass has grown to it was 4 to 5 feet long. I blinked and it was all of a sudden 4 to 5 feet long. And there was sticks in there and I couldn't see in there. So if I was going to cut it, I didn't want to hit anything. I didn't want to hit rocks. And so there we were, my sister, bless her heart for helping, my 2 kids, and everybody had a job. My sister did what she does best. She's just tearing out stuff in the middle garden that wasn't supposed to be there. My other daughter's picking up sticks. The other daughter did that for a while, and then she started finding snakes. She did her own thing, whatever. But I used one of those zero-turn mowers, and it's a pretty powerful one, but nonetheless, it's not really meant for that type of grass cutting. It's you need what down here, what they refer to as a bush hog. It's a brush mower, but we don't have one. I don't want to rent one because they're a lot of money. And it was Sunday. You couldn't rent it anyway. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to put the blade on the highest and I'm just going to go slow and I'm just going to do my best. And I'm going to hopefully not hit anything. And God bless, I didn't hit anything. I didn't hit any rocks or any sticks. But the neighbor comes over, right? Our 82-year-old neighbor, we call her our Tennessee mom. She starts helping, like she's just bored. So she starts picking up sticks as well. She's cutting some stuff. Then they finished and I'm still cutting stuff because there was so much more. In fact, I cut yesterday as well because it just couldn't get it all done yesterday. But she's kind of making fun of me because she's saying, because I stopped and I took, when I finished for the day, she goes, my husband would have called you a city farmer. I said, yeah, why is that? She's like, because that's not what you use to cut that. And and I didn't get mad about it. I'm like, well, and the more I thought about it, I'm like, isn't it interesting? True. It's not. But we have to make do with what we have. So I had a choice. I either say, I'm going to leave it like this because I don't have the right thing to cut. I could hire somebody and pay a lot of money for them to cut it. I could rent the thing and pay a lot of money to cut it and then have to bring it back by a certain time and only be able to do it a certain day because I didn't know when I'd be able to do it. Or I can just try it and make the effort and use what I got and see how it goes. What's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is I ruin the blades. And I got to bring it in for service, But I took my time. I knew my limits. I paid very attention. I was very aware of what I was doing, and I did it. And you know what? The whole damn thing is cut now. I must have cut about probably about an acre and a half of 4 to 5 feet tall grass, and it's almost like hay. Actually, it's not even quite grass. It's pretty thick stuff, but it's cut. And my sister was like, the first day of the cutting, she was like, oh my God, it looks so good like that. I'm so glad we were out here working. And so was I. But it was such a metaphor for me. I was like, see, I could have listened and said, well, that's not what you're supposed to use. Okay, then I won't use it. Then I'm just going to have to leave it like this, And then looking at it going, well, I wish I had cut it. Guess what now? Now that it's cut, now I say, okay, in another 2 weeks, I'm going to cut it again before it gets to be 4 or 5 feet. Now I got it under control. It won't take as much of a toll on that zero turn. and now we're good to go. I'm not going to buy an item. I would love to once it's in my budget, but I did what needed to be done with what I had. Back in the day, they used to use horses to plow stuff. You know what I mean? So we can't make excuses and say, well, this person said, try it anyway. And you know what? If I did break it and somebody was like, oh, I told her so, then now I know.
Then you learn. And that's why I was saying how words are so imperative to our spirit. You know, when I have in 2006, when I was signing my first books, I created a quote. It says, may your spirit sing and your soul dance. And when you stick to doing it with the right words, that's exactly what happens. So instead of saying a city farmer or whatever, you know, seeing what you've done, it could have easily been said, wow, you sought a solution for the problem you had at hand. Good job. Because it's not what
I looked at it.
It's not what's normally used, but it is what you had. And instead of stopping, you moved forward, you know, of course saying, oh God, I hope it doesn't break, but you did it slowly, like you said. And that's a great analogy, Badass, because that's how we need to function with our thoughts, connecting to our spirit so that our soul can guide us then onto the next step. It's all about energy. And it's all about
because if we constantly make an excuse and say, well, okay, I'm not supposed to use that, so I'm going to have to wait, then it would have sat there, it would have got thicker, it would have got more problematic, you know. And so that's how we have to view everything. We can't keep pushing it to the back burner, whatever it is that we're working on in our life. We have to look at it and say, okay, if I take this head on and I work on this now, what will that look like? What are the goods and the bad? You know, like our middle daughter, or my middle daughter, you know, she's off to college in August, the end of August, but we're running into some financial aid challenges, you know, and so we're looking at all the scenarios. I say, okay, best case scenarios, we'll get past this, we'll figure it out, and you'll go, and there'll be no issue. Worst case scenario is you might not be able to go in September because we just can't get it. She didn't qualify for the loans. Like, they gave her very minimal loans, so there's a lot of out-of-pocket expense, and it's high, you know. So I said, we'll figure this out. Like, there's so many in betweens. There's the best case scenario, worst case scenario, and the whole bunch of scenarios in between. They may not be what you want. That might have to happen. But then what did we learn from this? You know, what did we learn from this? And let's keep moving forward. You're not going to sideline and not take any classes and just sit and mope in your room if that's the case. You're going to take some courses online, maybe even at that school, so that when you're ready to go full time, you can transfer in. But we'll see. I'm not putting a damper on it and expecting the worst. I'm actually putting it out there that we will figure this out. Like she is going to get up there, and we will figure this out, and the money will come. If it's okay, I want to read what Madeline wrote. Madeline wrote a lot. Madeline said, I heard the best thing that helped me release that thought. Regret is the idea that the choice you made would have led you somewhere else with a different life. But he said, living in the mindset of regret robs you from the experience of the world now. Absolutely, because you're thinking back. You may still have ended up in the same situation and place. Live in the present moment and really think of the joy of being alive with people you want to love. And then Tony said, we were brought up as a single mom. We were always sold together. They shelter us so we didn't move on to bigger things like college. But yes, I regret not looking for more info, even with guidance counselors. Madeline says, I consciously made shitty decisions for the past year in my diet, knowing I was shoving my feelings down with food because I didn't want to add the responsibility of eating right now on top of everything else I was carrying. That I read that before, and that is so good, Madeline. And thank you for sharing that, because that is the truth. You know, when you're growing and you have so many areas to grow in, it is overwhelming. And sometimes the growth has to come in steps. Like if weight loss is a thing, getting in shape, getting your health under control, getting your finances under control, getting your mind shifted, you may have to put some on the back burner because it's too much. And if that load is too heavy to carry, guess what you're going to do? You're going to drop it, and then you're going to hurt yourself, and then you're not going to be able to carry even half the load. She said, being self-aware is the key to making decisions that work for myself. Good for you. Go ahead, Claudia.
Like I said in the beginning, you know, are you the weed? You got to weed yourself out of your own way. Because nobody, unless we're locked up, held prisoner somewhere, nobody can stop us from becoming the magical spirit that we were meant to be. Things are going to happen. Things are going to fall in your lap. They're going to fall on your back. Not going to be able to move. You're not going to be able to function correctly. But always have that desire and the will to want to be better and to reach your full potential. And there are things that we may have wanted that are still living in regret. And I shared this before when I said, when I built a resentment towards my mom as a child, I never revisited as an adult. So it was the same resentment. So what did I learn from that? Of course, you learn it late in life, but today I utilize that same analogy of my own life. When I build anger to somebody, I want to revisit it. Is it really worth it? Or where was I at that moment that I allowed this anger to still fester within me? Am I really upset with this? And the badass Buddha and I have had private conversations on this. So then you move forward, you're like, you know what? It's okay. And you get over it. So no longer will I allow myself to be angry, be upset, be disappointed with someone, and then never revisit it again, because that's a big weed that I really need to pull from the root, because I'm holding on to something. So the damage we do that's happening to us, most likely we've done it to ourselves by holding on, regret, excuses. What was the other thing you said? And the past. We don't live there anymore. We don't. We haven't even been born for tomorrow yet. All we have is our present. So what can you do today that's going to make a difference in your tomorrow? But don't even think about tomorrow when you're doing it. So I hope I'm not confusing you. What can I do today? What am I going to remove today? Like I had a choice today. Am I going to wash all my clothes? I'm just going to wash my panties and my socks. And I chose just the panties and socks. You know what? You have to make choices that are suitable for you, not anyone around you. Those weeds are your weeds to pull, or for you to let your garden be overtaken by all that negativity, by all of those excuses, the complaints. Where are your boundaries, even with your garden? Those are the questions you got to ask yourself. Yeah, I didn't go to my prom, but my son went to 3, my daughter went to 2. So they've done it. Where are we today? And where do we want to go while we still have breath in ourselves? If you have to go out there and put that mower on the strongest blade and go slowly, then that's what you have to do in your life. Because at the end of that hard work and that decision that maybe might not go well, but I'm going to still try it, ends up to be a very beautiful thing for you to sit outside with your coffee and admire. So what Badass Buddha shared with us is something that it's compatible in all of our lives. She did the hard work, but we can add that analogy to our lives. Just do it when you have the chance. Do it. Do it now. Stop waiting till tomorrow. Tomorrow's a fantasy. Not until you wake up. It's just a fantasy.
Yep, could go either way, any direction. So just what you do or don't do today affects your tomorrow. So just Absolutely. Focus today. And for Thursday, so we'll focus today, but we'll talk about Thursday's show. Thursday's show is called Beautiful Blooms. It's cultivating your precious garden for a clear and sustainable path. So we're going to continue this conversation, focusing less on the weeds and focusing on what it means to bloom. What does your blooms look like? What do your blooms look like? What do you need to do to make those beautiful blooms? People who grow gardens, flower gardens, will tell you, most of the time you don't just let the gardens grow. I mean, sometimes you can. I like those gardens. Those are my favorite, the ones that you don't have to do anything. But like roses require a lot of, you're always having to clip the dead things off so that more blooms come. And so we have to, that's what we're going to be talking about on Thursday is to what are your blooms and what is it that you need to do to keep them vibrant and beautiful and sustainable from this point going forward.
And you know that you will know the answer to that every time you look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. Tell yourself, remind yourself that you love you. Mm-hmm. And Madeline, I hear you. Sometimes it's like I say every morning. I love you, Margarita. I love you. 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 Love it. You got it. It gets you moving. Mm-hmm. Movimiento es vida.
And even when she smells like onions, she loves herself.
Right now, when I write shower, but yeah. But you know what? You know what that smile was like? Iris, oh, she's like, I don't smell you from here. But you know what? I still smiled because that odor came from me pushing forward and pushing forward and pushing.
That's right.
That was what there's a saying. It was labor. It was labor I was putting into myself. Not everything's gonna smell like roses, mi gente, but if it gets you from point A to B to C and then you end up in Z, then you did it. Don't matter. So yeah. Amber, be intentional. When you get up, if you write something on your lunch break today, write something about what you need to read that you can do now. Start off with, I love you, Margarita. Okay, what can I read today? But before I go to bed tonight.
That's fabulous.
Don't make it so difficult. It's that simple. It could be you need to purge your closet or you need to clean out your junk drawer. It's that simple. Don't look at the whole picture. Look at each step as you start planning them. Hi, Jessica. So yeah. Oh, it's an hour.
Beautiful. Well, thanks everybody for coming on today. And Gladiator Guru, we rest up, dry out your clothes. We're looking forward to hearing where you are on Thursday and take lots of pictures. We want to see that area. I know you were talking about it, and and we couldn't when she started in the morning, but when the connection was bad, she was outside and it was so pretty and there was blue sky and puffy white clouds. Then it grayed over and the connection wasn't that great anyway. Then it started to rain, so she moved inside. But it's beautiful. The grounds are really cool.
Yes, because here I am. Here I am.
There you go. Look at that.
Love yourself, and you know what? Celebrate. Where is it? I have to hold it.
It's not.
Celebrate yourself. It's not coming on now. Remember to love and celebrate yourself. You're all you got. At the end of the day, you are all you got. Make it count.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you for being here. From the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And from the Gladiator Guru, mi gente, remember to breathe in the beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.